name dropping. I was blessed to work with. One night, I was a backup singer. I was a Raylette with Ray Charles one night on a television show. And he was one of the people that affected my life deeply in terms of piano playing and singing at the same time. And finding that soul. His was so raw. You couldn't say, oh, he has a great voice, like vocally, but it's what he did with it. And it was and it was the soul in it. And that is trusting himself. That is just, he didn't even probably question it. He just did it over his lifetime.
Hi, I'm ELAINE Overholt, and this is Famous with my friend Jacy Valeras.
ELAINE Overholt, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Thank you for being here. You are a highly respected vocalist, vocal coach, vocal producer. You have performed with some of the biggest names in music, like Ray Charles, Tina Turner. I could go on and on. And you've also recorded jingles. You've had a song on Billboard chart. So many incredible things in your career. And what I would love to do is to get to know the person behind all of that and kind of figure out how your journey began and how you got to do all of these incredible things in your career. So thank you for taking time with me today.
Well, if you asked me to do that, we could be here forever. I might get a little lengthy. It's been a long life so far, and it ain't over yet.
It has. You were born and raised in Canada, and you had some humble beginnings with your career. You started singing in church.
I did. I sang my first solo, I think I was 3.5 or 4. And I sang a song called I Do, Don't You. And I just Googled it recently. It is a song. It's a gospel song. And I was up there and the minister's wife, it was a small little Pentecostal church. My minister's wife was down below playing the piano for me. And I promptly forgot the words.
Oh, no.
And I was mortified. Of course, everyone laughed because I was so darn cute. But of course, I thought they were laughing at me. I think I've spent the rest of my life trying to get it right. So, that was it. And, I started piano lessons. I mean, if there's one thing I want to say is that learning an instrument for a vocalist is just so key. And everybody, I get parents coming to me all the time. Please, I want my child to sing. I sometimes send them away and I say, come back in 5 years when your child has learned how to play the piano or the guitar. Mm-hmm. Because that gives you that basis of music. It gives the voice something to relate to. Teaches how to put chords together. I mean, nobody reads music anymore, but I certainly did. And, in all my classical training. So I went on, and even though I studied classical piano for years and years and years with the most wonderful little woman from Woodstock, Ontario, Canada. At the same time, I'm in the church and I'm playing piano. I remember the minister's wife, she said to me one day, "Oh, ELAINE, you can come over to the church anytime during the week and practice on the Lowry organ." I thought that organ was the coolest thing ever. It was a small electric organ. And I'd come in there and practice. And she must have been listening because one Sunday morning, she came up to me and she said, "You're playing in the church service today." And I went, I can't do that. She said, "You could do it. I know you can." And of course, in that particular church, there were also a lot of songs that we did that weren't even in the hymn book. We called them choruses, and everybody knew them by heart, and I had to play them by heart, and I already knew them. So that was great training for my ear, too. So I had the classical training on piano on one hand, and all of this singing in the church. At 11, I was the organist. At 14, I was the choir director. It wasn't that small of a church. The senior choir director. 14, I was a big kid. I was about 5'8" at 14. And so I learned sort of some leadership skills. I was probably terrible then, but also learning to sing harmonies, right? And then also during high school, I put together a group. I'm a bit of a producer type as well and love to have control, and I just make things happen. I always tell students, look, if you don't have anywhere to go sing, go out and produce your own show. Find a place, tell all your friends to come, make sure the tech is all there for you, and put a show together. Do it. Be your own producer. And I put a group together. We were a vocal group. We were called the 1+5.
I love it.
The 1 being God or Jesus, and the 5 of us. And we just had to have ball. I mean, we sang, beautiful harmonies, and I would pick them out on the piano first, and I would write them all out because I could do that. And then I'd teach them to the rest of us, and we'd rehearse and blah, blah, blah. We'd go out and sing in churches and, I don't know, whatever, probably some nursing homes. And that was great training. And all the while I was going in all the festivals, playing my classical piano and all of that good stuff. By the way, I do have my piano here if I need to refer or show something. So yeah, and let me see. Yeah, then I went to university.
That's what I was going to ask you about, because I know you went to college and you studied piano and then voice. Was there anything at that time that you can remember, a specific event or maybe a specific person that really brought to your attention the fact that you could pursue this as a lifelong career?
Music or singing?
I would say both. Or was there a difference for you at that time?
There was never any question in my mind that I wasn't going to do music. I don't know why. It just never occurred to me. I was so busy making music and doing music and putting shows together. I didn't think about another career. I remember one summer I worked at a jewelry store selling jewelry for about 3 months. I was terrible at it. I think I got fired from that. And and when I was 16, the only other job I can remember having is I worked in a Harvey Woods underwear factory.
Wow.
loading underwear and socks and bras onto a truck.
Talk about a struggling artist.
Oh man. Yeah. So I never worked as a waitress. I was horrible at that. I served some people once and I spilled hot coffee all over the man. And there was never any question. Then when I went into university, I went in as a piano major in the Faculty of Music at Western University and in the performance strain. But all along I was accompanying other singers. And this is classical, mind you. This is all classical. At night, to make money, to pay my way through school, I would go and sing at the local, it wasn't even a bar, it was a little higher class, and that was like a restaurant dining room. And it was called the Latin Quarter. And I would go in there and play songs and sing, And that's one of the ways I got my way through university. I got a job on a television show, the worst television show in the history of mankind. It was a kids' TV show. And I was the piano player for all the little kiddies that would come on and sing or play the guitar. We didn't even rehearse them. We didn't even audition them. They just came on. And, but I got to sing one song every show. And this went on for 4 years. So getting in front of a camera on a local television show, and in those days, we didn't even have VCRs, nothing to record ourselves. So I'd have to wait till it came on, and I would literally run out of the room. I couldn't stand to watch myself. I couldn't look at myself. And I find this in my coaching with a lot of people. They cannot look at themselves. Even Renee Zellweger, when I was working with her in Chicago, she would run away from the mirror. I finally just turned her around one day and I said, see what you're doing? And she said, oh, you're right. Once you get used to that, accepting what you are and who you are right now, and then you can say, okay, fix it. So I would look at these TV shows, and I would say, okay, what am I going to do wrong? Well, is it my hair? Is it my singing? Is it my profile? Whatever. And I learned the hard way. So anyway, I'm in university, and in my fourth year, my last year, and I've been playing Bach and Beethoven and Rachmaninoff for years and years and years and years and years. This kind of stuff. Right? That's Chopin. But I put my hands down, and I had this feeling come over me. And I find that all of the bigger decisions in my life have come to me very gently, but very assuredly. And I put my hands down and I said, that's it. I'm not going to study piano anymore. I'm going to switch majors and study voice. Not that, because I'd been singing and singing and singing and singing anyway, mostly in the gospel and singing late at night and playing for other people. So I sat under all of the other voice coaches as an accompanist. So I'm gleaning all this information from all of them, not just one. So I toddled down to the dean's office, told him my dilemma, and I said, I just can't do it. I can't sit by myself 6 hours a day practicing piano. It's just not in me. I said, I need to switch to voice. He said, oh, well, you can't do that. It's never been done. I said, oh, okay, then I'm going to have to leave. And this is my fourth year. And I really wanted to get a degree, just to say I had a degree. Well, he said, let me look at your transcripts. So he looked at my transcripts and he said, well, you've got all these other... He said, the only course you will need is Dr. Karen Pendel's vocal pedagogy course, teaching voice, how to teach voice. And he said, if she will let you in it, and this is 4 or 5 weeks into the year, if she will let you in it, then you can switch majors. I go down to her office, and she was an amazing human being, crusty as heck, but she always had a twinkle in her eye. And she said, no, you can't do that. You're not going to do this. It's not fair to the other kids in the class, and da-da-da-da-da. And I said to her, keep in mind, I am normally, honestly, in my soul, a really shy person. I've only learned to be more gregarious. So I said, well, I'm not leaving your office until you tell me I can take your course. I said, I refuse to let one course ruin the rest of where I want to go in my life. Something like that. And she said, with a twinkle in her eye, you better get a good mark. I think I got an 85 at the end of the year. So I actually ended up graduating with a degree in voice. But I had piano. And the two have always been like this for me.
What were your goals at that time? Did you have goals to go on and pursue a career as a solo artist?
I think I did. I think I always did. But in truth, my other goal was always to make the best music possible. And that's something that I try and work with my students with, or any of even the more famous people I'm working with. It's not about fitting into that genre. It's not about, am I going to have a hit single? Yeah, we all want a hit single. The way you get a hit single, there are many ways, but one of them is to find the voice in you and the songwriting. The song is big, 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 big. If your voice is able to go there in all of its glory, with its highs and its lows and its louds and its softs, you will touch people and you will create art. It's not just about singing songs and getting out there and people clapping and saying, oh, isn't she lovely? She's fabulous. It's about changing their lives. It's about giving back. It's about taking what you do, taking music and elevating it to a little higher level.
Right.
Not for my sake, no so much, although, as we all know, music feeds our soul like crazy. And when I know I've done a good job, I feel so good inside. But for those people out there,
yeah, I want to get to your teaching in just a minute, but when you were during that time in your career, when you had just graduated and you were kind of going off on your own to see what your own life and career was going to be, was there a big break, so to speak? Was there a moment that somebody said, "Hey, I want you to come do this thing," that kind of opened doors for you? Or was it a chain of events that finally led to the whole picture?
Right. In terms of the early years, it was a chain of events, for sure. I did, I was asked to record an album, which was fantastic and very different in those days than it is now to record an album. It didn't go anywhere really. It was fine, and I loved doing it. It was just such a beautiful experience, and you worked in these studios that were huge and cost $1 bajillion, which is why you needed a record label behind you, because nobody, it would cost 40 grand to put an album out or more
Right.
in those days. And it was just wonderful to be in there. It led to other things. Starting, people got to know me, and my song would get played on the radio. And then I would have invites to do session work, which I know a lot of people in Nashville know all about.
For sure.
It's literally singing background vocals on other people's albums, on TV shows, and on films. And I became a first string session singer. Very proud of that. Made a lot of money, not huge money, but like really steady, solid money, and was very proud. And I was sort of in the upper, crust, and it helped in those days that I read music, right?
Yeah.
But then a lot of us would just go in. A lot of times we just go in and make up the 3 parts. And what was so cool in those days? Listen to me, I sound like I'm 80. Was that you would there were often just 3 of us, making 3-part harmony. You'd go in and you'd do it live, like all together. Now it's layered. You do the bottom part and then you do the second. So I can record all of my background vocals myself. But there was something really organic, and it was just literally the literal vibrations moving from singer to singer when we did some, especially some of the R&B stuff. And there were TV shows. I remember one TV show there were 52 episodes, 2 years, and about 8 songs a show, 10 songs a show. So we were in there day after day after day after day after day. The other thing that did was it built I had vocal cords of iron back then.
Right.
I had incredible stamina. And that, along with, I always wanted to keep singing live, so I did. I toured with a couple of bands, toured with my own band. And I always wanted to sing live. I also did piano bars.
Wow.
Well, first piano bar. Well, it was easy. All I had to, because I played and I sang, and I didn't have to take anybody with me or pay anybody else. And I just go in, but it was 6 nights a week. That's a lot of singing for 4 hours a night, just me. And again, I built up my stamina like nobody's business. You asked me about a big break. I think the big break came. Well, there were 2 in my teaching. I've been teaching and teaching. I've always taught, by the way, always taught along with my performing career. Mm-hmm. And I learn more from working with a singer than I do from just even being out there, whatever. And how to get at. And I think that's what I'm so interested in these days is how do you get at that voice? How do you get at that psyche? How do you get at that soul? How do you set it free when so many of us come to singing with fears? But the first well-known group that I coached was Sharon, Lois, and Bram. And I will be forever grateful to them, and I know you know them. I will be forever grateful to them for opening the door to working with celebrities. Sure, they're kids. They're a kids group. We formed a beautiful relationship, beautiful friendship. I ended up co-producing a few of their albums. I went to LA with them when they recorded their Candle, Snow, and Mistletoe holiday album. Had a blast down there for 2 weeks working with a full orchestra, and have loved them ever since. Then the other big break I think I got as a coach was when I was asked to be the vocal coach on the film Chicago,
Right.
which went on to win the Oscar that year for Best Picture.
Yeah.
And I worked with all of the wonderful artists, stars, from Richard Gere to Catherine Zeta-Jones to Renee Zellweger to Queen Latifah, John C. Reilly. Yeah. And then on the basis of that, a couple of years later, I got the film Hairspray. So that was way fun with John Travolta and Michelle Pfeiffer. It was just something else. Zac Efron.
Yeah. I want to go back to what you said earlier about Sharon, Lois, and Bram, because that's actually how we know each other. We met through them probably 5 or 6 years ago.
Yeah.
And it's so interesting to me because as a vocal coach, these are 3 very different people with very different musical backgrounds, very different sounds. As people, they're very different.
Yes.
How do you take a group like that with such individuality and bring out the best in them as individual soloists, but then also to make their sound come together to create something so special? That must be such a difficult thing to do. And how do you do it? Because you do it so well.
You become a psychologist, first of all. You learn, and that's one of the things about teaching. My antennae are out like this and just buzzing. To get cues from you and from the singer in everything, their securities, their insecurities, and then listening for what's missing in their voice or what's strong in their voice. So it took a little while till I got used to that. And then it becomes a matter of I did a lot of their vocal arrangements, okay? And you learned how to put that together so that, I would know what Lois's range would be in full voice, then her range in head voice. And I'd know how high Bram could go and how low he could go with that big, beautiful baritone. And then Sharon, who has a lighter voice, more soprano, she could go up and down as wherever you wanted her to go. And you just have to pay attention to that. And finding each day, we do a warm up, especially if we were, working on some of these. We did Broadway.
Right.
We did Broadway for 2 weeks, a major show at the Palace Theater. Obviously a live show, a book show, including Santa and, of course, Elephant, their mascot. And every day we had to warm up. I made sure that when they hit the stage, they were warmed up, they were ready to go. And what the warm-up, and I've gotten better and better at this over the years, the warm-up consists of activating all the resonators in the front of your face, not keeping the voice back here like this, da 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 da, but zee, yeah, 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 yeah. Instead of yeah, it's yeah. I don't know whether you can hear that difference, but getting that placement, because when you get that placement, the blend is better.
Right.
And I learned that it was sometimes really nice for Bram to do the solo because he's really good at sort of improvising a little bit, and then the 2 girls backing him up sometimes, and then other ways. So they taught me a lot.
Yeah. One of the things you mentioned earlier was being able to kind of hone that special thing within each artist. In Nashville, we call it the it factor, and
That's
it's the
right.
thing that just sets you apart. How do you recognize that thing within somebody and then make them recognize it to the point where they can become their best self?
Sometimes when they come to me, it's already there. It's already there so much that I almost don't talk about it because I don't want to mess with it.
Right.
Is that special magic that they've figured out or they partially born with, and they've got a set of vocal cords and a set of resonators and a thing in their head that says, okay, I'm going to do this and this and this, or they've worked and worked and worked at it over the years. So sometimes they're born with it. Other times, and this is my true belief, because I've seen it happen, I think there are a lot of people who do have an it factor, but they have covered it over for so many years. Even a younger child, through trauma, through never being given an opportunity to sing, through people belittling them. Oh, you sound awful. And people remember that for the rest of their lives. Whether it's a parent saying it or an aunt or uncle or somebody they don't even know. You sound awful. You can't sing. You're a terrible singer. Well, a lot of kids are terrible singers. But they need to be encouraged just to sing, and to vocalize. So I think the it factor gets, I say that, there are these layers that sort of cover up their soul and their expression and that ability and desire to go into their bedroom or their basement or wherever and wail away and feel that vibration in their body and go, oh, did I just do that? Wow. I think a lot of people don't get a chance. Then there are others who, and you might say for those people, they weren't meant to be singers. I don't necessarily disagree. I don't necessarily agree, sorry. I think that there are some who will absolutely push through that because there's something so singular in their brain that says, I have to do this, that they will find a way, usually quite quickly. There's no question that there are others who, people ask me, do you think anybody can sing? And I say, yes, I think anybody can sing. Whether they're going to be a big star or have a phenomenal voice is another story. There are very, very few people in the world who actually have, what's it called? Are tone deaf.
Okay.
Tone deaf, yeah. There are very few people in the world who are actually tone deaf. And sometimes there's a physical issue, there's a mental issue. One thing I do believe in is that people need to express themselves through song and through their voice if they can speak. And, it's just that it's the sustained tone. Unlike speaking where it's all choppy, you're holding this and they're holding that, right? So there's something, again, that vibrates in the center of your being. It's a physical vibration,
right?
Which I could go into a whole lot. And there have been lots of scientific studies and whatnot on the human voice.
I don't know if you remember this, but we were at the Sharon Lewis and Bram album release party a few weeks ago, and you and I had a conversation about imposter syndrome and maybe not feeling like you are deserving of an opportunity, even after you've had a lot of success. So I want to talk about how that relates to an artist, maybe taking an opportunity that they might not feel ready for, or maybe might not feel deserving of. How do you help an artist who might be feeling that? Because I think we all do.
Yes, the imposter syndrome is a big one. There are also people, by the way, who are the exact opposite. They'll just go up and sing and they might be terrible, but they're having a great time. The imposter syndrome is an interesting one, isn't it? And it's quite often even people who are in the upper echelons of sort of acting or singing or performing are riddled with it. And Renee Zellweger is one, has a lot of imposter syndrome. And it's kind of crippling in a way. It's very fearful. I have it. I still have it. Mine is based on, I know that I can sing, but mine is based on, I always worry, and this comes from an older sibling that I ended up feeling this way about, or he made me feel this way. It's like I'm stupid. I'm stupid and I don't have anything to say. It's still sits on my shoulder. It's ingrained in my body because I learned it as a young child. I fight through it. So what I tell people is, you've just got to put your eye on the target, go through the fear, and do it anyway. The more you do it, you get little increments of feedback, positive feedback, that keep you going, that make you go further and further and further. It probably won't happen all at once. It may not ever go away. And it's kind of a cool thing to have, in the sense that, even though it's totally annoying, it's kind of a cool thing in the sense that it does keep you going. My thing is, with anything I tackle, I have to be the best at it. I'm not in competition with anybody but myself. I want to create art. I want to create new art. I want to create something that's never been done before. I want to leave something behind that will be remembered as positive. So if I don't, and I know that it's music with me, it's music. So if I don't keep going there, I won't accomplish that. And I guess that's what drives me. You know, I also am a parent, and I want that to be seen by my child. And I'm a grandparent too, and certainly be seen by them. So yeah, the imposter syndrome, the more you do it, the easier it gets. It never goes away though.
That's a great...
But when I was performing a lot, like every night kind of thing, it was way easier. Then you go through a period in your life where I don't know, you're raising your kid, and maybe you're not performing as much, and you're doing all the studio work, so you're not out front with, your talent and all that stuff. And then it starts to come back, geez, can I still do that? I had a student once, brilliant singer, just a beautiful singer. And he got a gig opening for another artist at the town hall in New York City. And he had an experience on stage where he literally went spaghetti brain. And I think what had happened was literally the oxygen, he wasn't breathing, and the blood was not there, in his brain to keep him going. I guess he got through that. But anyway, he was worried that was going to happen again. And I said, oh, that's easy. I said, what you're going to do is, and I talk in my teaching, a lot of what I teach is about grounding yourself, literally being pulled into the earth, getting grounded into your feet, your legs, everything. And he and I had gone through a lot of that. I said, as soon as you walk on the stage, you grab the mic, you start singing. I want you to take, if you feel that you're not, going to make it, just take that one foot and do a little step in front and push into that leg and ground yourself. And I was sitting out in the audience, and I was beside his partner, and, one line into the first song, he took a step and pushed in. And I turned to his partner, I said, he'll be fine. I know that's not really imposter syndrome, but he felt like an imposter too. He felt like he didn't belong there.
Well, what I think it also does is it teaches you ways to cope with that. And I think, for me, I've always found that making the transition from the person who is still learning and learning and learning to then going and doing the thing and feeling comfortable doing the thing, when I'm the type of person, and one of the reasons that I wanted to do this podcast was so I could have conversations with people to learn, because I am fascinated by the music industry, fascinated by the entertainment world, and I want to learn more about how people become successful. So being the type of person that is always looking to learn these things, but then also feeling comfortable being the person to do the interview and to get on a stage, it can be really hard.
Exactly. And one of the nice things about getting a bit older is that you do start to trust in what's inside a lot more. You start to trust that it's kind of important and it's kind of well learned, and it's something that other people want to hear because they're going through the same thing. And how did you get over it? Oh, well, I did this and I did that. So And then when you get an affirmation back from somebody that you've touched, or that the light bulb has gone off in their head, you go, oh, okay, well, maybe I'm on the right track here. Yeah, it's an ongoing thing, and I always encourage people to say, well, I want to get really, really good before I go out there. And I say, no, get out there, go to a karaoke bar, go to an open mic night, sing your songs, get your tech together, whether it's a track on your phone, or bringing your guitar, or bringing someone who plays for you. Get out there and do it. Have your friend videotape it, even though it's going to kill you to watch it afterwards, but learn from it. You know? So you got to get past that imposter syndrome and just do it and do it. Now, having said that, I suppose there are times when somebody just, is sounding terrible night after night after night, every time they go out. I don't even know what to say to that. Sing in a choir, because you need to sing, and I think choirs are phenomenal for that sort of thing. Yeah, so there you go.
Well, you have worked with so many incredible people, and I'm wondering if, this podcast is about being famous, being around people who have achieved, who have become successful and famous. Do you think, in your time being around a lot of people who have had a lot of success, that there is a specific quality within people who are famous that is the same, that you would say that's the reason, or that is how they became successful, whether that is drive or talent? Is there a specific quality that you've seen that has been pretty consistent?
That's a very interesting and deep question. Sometimes I might say, well, there are many factors, that lead to success. I'll just keep it to singing and performing. There's the voice, there's the tone of the voice, there's the range of the voice, there's the ability to hear a song and make magic with it. That's a big one. I haven't even talked about that. Magic with a capital M is, not just singing notes, but putting it across there as a story, telling the story. There's being a person who can talk well on camera, be interviewed. There's a person that has stage presence when they go on stage. When they go in the studio, is that microphone picking up the voice? Because, there's the old saying, garbage in, garbage out. And if you put good stuff into that microphone, you're going to get good stuff out, no matter how good the tech is these days. And it's very good. So I think that there are some people that, are good at some things, and other people are good at other things, I guess. And then there are artists who are surrounded with, production. What I mean is, first of all, a great producer. There's like a lot of dance artists are like that, where it's all about the groove, the beat, the drive in the song. And I do work with hip hop singers, and I even work with rap singers, rappers. There can be so much production around them, like and ambient sounds and strings or whatever, keyboard sounds. But the song has got to be good. So, and the voice it's got to be sort of good, right? But it doesn't have to be great. Sometimes you put those people on stage and they kind of, right? Obviously, I'm more interested in the singers who are singers that really have tone in their voice. The ones that interest me, and one of the reasons I think they become famous, is there's a tone in their voice that, I talked about it near the beginning, that is really it's really inside their body. It's vibrating all over the place. It's resonance. Mm-hmm. it creates the soul that you feel because they are so connected, and they're literally the vibrations. I don't mean vibrato. I mean the vibrations that you hear. Some of those rich sounds. There are people, if you listen to Gino Vanelli, who was a star back in the late 70s in rock music, but he did an album called Canto, where he goes up to a note on this one song, and it just goes right through your chest. It just vibrates, and you feel your whole body just open up. Adele is an interesting one, because, there was all this big sound and big bands and boy bands and all of this stuff and lots of harmonies and stuff. And then this girl comes along and has this, hey, and her voice, and of course her songs are crazy good. And it was such a relief for us to hear that. And we connected with that, especially the young girls at the time, and what she was talking about in her songs. And we connected with that. I mean, there's a Canadian artist, Katie Lang, which some people know, some people don't. Yeah. She's got incredible tone in her voice. She's got incredible technique too. Incredible tone. And then, you take someone like Ray Charles, whom, name dropping, I was blessed to work with. One night, I was a backup singer. I was a Raylette with Ray Charles one night on a television show. And he was one of the people that affected my life deeply in terms of piano playing and singing at the same time. And finding that soul. His was so raw. You couldn't say, oh, he has a great voice, like vocally, but it's what he did with it. And it was and it was the soul in it. And that is trusting himself. That is just, he didn't even probably question it. He just did it over his lifetime. He just did it. You take an Aretha Franklin. Incredible sitting into her voice, that and partially that's because there's a lot of that going on, which is there's a lot of that in R&B. It's a lot of that in country, of course, and but some of it's really great and some of it's really hard to listen to in any field, rock or pop or country or whatever. But it's the soul. I think you feel the soul when the sound comes together in that voice. And that's what I work with people on, is instead of saying, you can hear the piano okay?
I can.
Okay. Instead of me saying, Georgia, the whole day through, if I put some of this in and I connect with my body, I might sing it more like Georgia, Georgia. See, I did two different things there. I went Georgia, Georgia. There's some of that in there. The whole day through. Instead of the whole or the whole, which is a full out belt, I'm putting it in here. The whole day through. Just an old sweet song. And I chose here to go breathy. I could go just an old sweet song, right? Song. I could do many things. So it's great for a singer to experiment. First, you got to find that sound and have access to it. By the way, a lot of classical singers come to me and want me to teach them they'll say, can you teach me how to sing musical theater? Because that's the closest thing to classical, right, that they can think of. Or they'll say, can you teach me to sing pop?
Right.
And they'll come in, Georgia, Georgia, and it's all in the head voice, and there's no connection to the bottom of their body, and they can't bring the voice down into that sort of thing. So that, and I've had people have great success with finding that sound. It's so interesting. What makes somebody rise to the top, and it's also, by the way, one thing I didn't mention, is just plain drive. When you have a lot of drive, you figure things out by trial and error. You try something, it doesn't work. I remember one time I had a band and we were playing, I don't know, some hotel, where people danced and stuff. And I was never good at that because, I always had to do covers, and I didn't want to do that. I wanted to do more original stuff and R&B, and they wanted the disco and pop and stuff. Anyway, I'm saying how old I am. Anyway, I taped myself one night doing that, and I was a belter. I was a real belter. I could sing way up high, and then I would flip into head voice. So I taped it and I took it home and listened. And I went, oh my God, how can people listen to me? I sound awful. I'm yelling all the time. And to me, when I'm doing it, I thought, oh, they're just going to love how big my voice is and how loud I can sing and how big I can be. I had no respect for the song. I just didn't know what else to do but belt it out. And I thought they would all love that. Horrible. So that's similar to looking at yourself in the mirror, right?
Right.
And going, oh my God, what am I doing? And I fixed it. I went and I worked on it.
Yeah. And I totally agree with you. I think there is something about the tone, the soul within another person that just seems to resonate with millions of people. And that is what, essentially brings them to the very top. Yeah. All of the people we've talked about that you've worked with, the amazing things you've done in your career, when you look back over it, is there a moment that you would just love to relive over and over and over? Something you're so proud of, something that just blows your mind that you were able to do?
My goodness. I would have to think about, there's so many. Certainly singing with Ray Charles would be one of them. There are a lot of other people on different TV shows that we backed up. I don't know if I can think of.
You know what? You've had so many. I know you've sung with Tina Turner and Dionne Warwick and all of these people, and it's just amazing that you have been able to do it in such a vast way, because not only have you performed with them yourself, you've also been hired to help them become better performers. And what a testament to you as a vocalist, as just a human being that people want to work with, because in those circles, it's hard to get recommended over and over and over, and you do all the time. And
there is one moment that, you talk about moments that stand out as moments to remember. When we were doing Chicago, we were doing the pre-record, which means, you go into the studio ahead of time and you pre-record all the songs, and then they lip sync on the set. That's done with every movie, except Les Mis. And so, we had worked for 6 weeks on the music. Rob Marshall rehearsed it like a musical, like a stage musical. And anyway, it was finally time to go into the studio, and Richard Gere, who hadn't sung in a performance in 30 years, he did Grease on London's West End. So he came in, we'd worked on it, and I warmed him up. And he actually did 2 of his songs on the same day, which is really incredible. Because, of course, you don't just sing it through. You sing it through many, many, many times, and then you pick and choose certain lines, and let's redo this line and this and that. And you get tired, right? But He did 2 of them, the big songs, too. Anyway, we're out in the ante room afterwards, and they had a table of... what do you call it? The table, the eating table.
Craft services.
Craft services, thank you. And he's just walking back and forth. He doesn't know what to do with himself, and and he just came and he threw his arms around me and hugged me so tight, and he started to laugh. And I started to laugh with him. And we're laughing belly to belly. And I taught him how to use his belly to support his voice and all of that. And he didn't let go and didn't let go. And he just laughed and laughed and laughed. Such a great memory for me.
That's incredible. This has been such a fun conversation, and I feel like I could talk to you for about 18 more hours.
Oh, me too, Jacy, me too.
You have so many great stories. What's coming up for you? What's left on the Elaine Overholt bucket list?
Well, I am coaching still on a regular basis, but I've already cut it down. I'm really brought it back. I am doing a night where I talk about I don't even know what you call it, but they want me to talk about my life and what inspired me and different songs that inspired me and blah blah blah, and it's a little daunting if you ask me, but I don't have any film or TV stuff right now. I did a whole episode of Star Trek. If you look, Star Trek Strange New Worlds, Season 2, Episode 9, I think, if people are interested. It's fun as heck. Spent 3 months working on that. Also worked on the film Coda, which I loved. I loved working with her. Oh my God, she was so beautiful. Of course, that won the Oscar too for Best Picture. I'm having fun being a grandmother and working with some really beautiful up-and-coming people right now. I'm being kind of picky because I just don't want to work quite as hard as I used to. So, all good stuff.
Well, I'm so grateful to know you and so grateful that we got to have this chat.
I am so grateful to know you, and thank you for this opportunity.
Thank you.
You look beautiful. You are beautiful. You're a wonderful interviewer. You really are. You're really good.
Thank you so
good.
much. I can't tell you how much that means to me.
Well, I've done a lot of interviews, and you're going to be doing a lot of interviews with some very famous people, I should think.
Thank you. Thanks, Elaine.
Okay.
You're the best.
All right.
I'll talk to you soon.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.